Hello, Kenmore Alliance Church. My name is Evans, one of the pastors here at Kenmore Alliance Church. And many of you have called me, texted me, emailed me, just different conversations on what can I do? How can I jump in? How can I serve? How can I love? And those are great questions. And I want to attempt to answer some of those questions. Actually, I want to ask the expert. I want to ask Jesus. Jesus, what should we do during this time? And in John chapter 13, Jesus washes the disciples' feet. I mean, it is his hardest day, right? Most challenging day. He's about to go to the cross. And right before he goes to the cross, he goes to the garden and asks his Father, if there's any way for this cup to pass, can this cup pass? And so yes, it is one of his hardest days. And it's our, hardest day. I think right now, this is one of the most challenging days of our time, right? And so what does Jesus want us to do? This is what he did. He got up. John chapter 13, verse 4 says, he rose up, he laid aside his outer garment, took a towel, wrapped it around his waist, and poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet. And later on it says, man, the reason why I'm doing this is I have given you an example that you should do just as I have done. So during Jesus's most challenging days, he washed the disciples' feet. He's asking us to do the same thing. So the question I've asked myself, what does that look like in 2020 during this pandemic, during the coronavirus? How can we wash each other's feet? And a couple of questions I picked up from this passage is, what resources do we have? If you look at this passage, and Jesus picked up a water pitcher, basin, a towel, something simple, nothing complex, just very, very basic. He looked around and saw what he had, and then he also questioned what needs to get done. And so he picked up, so I want to ask you guys the same question. What resources do you have? Get your children together, get your family together, and just start brainstorming on what are the opportunities that we have during this time, and what can we do? And yes, there's all these parameters, there's social distancing, there's all these terms that we're learning, slow the spread, density reduction. Yes, we do need to follow those guidelines. But at the same time, what does Jesus want us to do? What does it look like to wash feet in 2020 during this time? This morning I heard of a story where someone grabbed a guitar and started just playing, worship songs at the end of their driveway. Just encouraging people and blessing people through worship. Yesterday, the phone rang and I picked it up, and there was an older lady on the phone. And one of the things that she said is like, this is exciting. And we get phone calls all the time, and sometimes weird phone calls, and I was like, what's exciting? Like this coronavirus, it's exciting. And I was like, what is she gonna say? And she said, it's so easy to share the gospel. And I was blown away. I was like, wow. Just her perspective. She's 70 years old. This is one of the most challenging days that she's ever seen, and she is sharing the gospel. And her closing was, she's been calling different people all day long and giving them hope, giving them life, pointing them to Jesus. And one of her lines that she said yesterday was, which I wrote down, she said to the people that she's calling, she says, I don't want to go to heaven without you. It's like, wow. Man, I want that perspective. One, it's so easy to share the gospel, and two, that I don't want to go to heaven without it. So all that to say, just asking ourselves the question, what are the resources around? What are the things that we have that are? Jesus took water, a basin, a towel, and a pitcher, and he served and he loved his disciples. Asking the same questions, what are the resources that we have around us? Gathering our children together and asking the same question, what are the resources we have, and what needs to get done? Maybe this is something that we can do, asking yourself the question, who is someone who has washed your feet? Who is someone who's loved you and encouraged you in your past? I remember when I was a youth pastor in Maryland, there was a guy who prayed with me to receive Christ. I was in college, I was a mess, and he saw that I was a mess, and he approached me and asked me, hey, have you ever prayed the prayer to receive Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? And I said, no, I haven't. And right then and there, right in the soccer field, I got on my knees and I prayed to accept Christ. And so fast forward a couple of years, I wanted to call him and say, hey man, thanks for investing in me. Thanks for, loving me and encouraging me. And I called him up and told him what I was doing. I was a youth pastor in Maryland and, going on mission trips and going on camp retreats and doing youth ministry and hanging out with teenagers and sharing Jesus with the kids. And he was so blessed by that little conversation. Like, he had no idea that what he did, the impact that he had on my life and what God was doing in my life. So that was a way that I was able to bless him. So the question is, how can I serve? How can I love? And how can I encourage people during this time? Jesus left us with that same example. In the same way I've loved you, I want you to love the people around you.